Okay. So how have you been?
Just been a very, very busy time for me. I mean, I was very busy with the literary festivals in
Mm,
December, Jan, and
mhm,
first half of Feb. But now there is like a lot of reading and pitching and follow-ups to do. Yeah,
mhm.
I'm in Delhi only.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna read your bio for a bit, and then we can kick off with the questions and answers. So Kanishka Gupta, am I pronouncing it correctly? Kanishka.
Kanishka.
Yeah. Kanishka Gupta is a literary agent, writer, and publishing commentator, best known for his critical acclaim series for Scroll.in called Publishing and the Pandemic. He is the founder of Writer's Side, the largest literary agency and consultancy in South Asia. Gupta has been credited for single-handedly popularizing literary representation in the subcontinent. His first novel was longlisted for the Asian Booker Prize in 2009 and was published in 2010. Okay, so many accolades. I just saw your social media. Another book you represented just won.
Oh my, yeah.
Yeah,
It's winning all the top cricket writing prizes in the world.
right,
It's winning another prize on the 18th, but it's like the news is under wraps, but it's won a
right,
bigger prize on the
right.
18th. Yeah.
Wow. So, like, how on a scale of like International Booker Prize and this sports book prize, like,
Booker has captured the imagination of the world. Maybe
right.
North America, maybe not the US and
Mm,
Canada as much as South Asia and European markets, even
right,
Asian markets. Booker is like at another level. And
right,
the first prize for a work translated from a South Asian language. And I don't
right,
know why Guardian said first novel in Hindi. No,
right.
first novel translated from a South Asian language to
South
win the
Asian
prize.
language.
It's
Yeah,
a very big deal.
yeah. But then cricket community is also huge, right? So
No,
this book
it
wins.
is huge, but it is also I mean the numbers are quite restricted, but these
Mm,
prizes are very big and they are going to change Nicholas's life, his career in terms of the offers he gets. I mean he told me he's getting offers for podcasts, writing assignments, and he's winning all the prizes. He's already won two. He's on the shortlist of a third one, but in terms
wow,
of sales and I mean there's no comparison,
right.
even if they are the biggest prizes, because there are a lot of viewers of cricket, but not as
Right.
many viewers. But it's a great book.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Wow.
like coming back to Tomb of Sand, because I've been part of the whole journey.
Uh-huh.
The book had sold around 500 or 600 copies before it was long listed, and it is at 85,000 copies now. And I think this is South Asia, maybe 80, most definitely 80, and this is
Right,
Indian market.
right.
And this excludes Pakistan, because the books are not available in Pakistan, because after the terror attacks in Pulwama,
Yeah.
there was this trade standoff that started between the two countries, and it's impossible for publishers to make Indian publishers to make the books available in Pakistan. So Tomb of Sand is not available, was never available in Pakistan,
Mm.
and despite that, it has sold like close to 80,000 copies.
Yeah, I just read that statistic too. Like before the Booker Prize, it sold
Uh,
like 5,000 or something, and then the Booker Prize, and then it
yeah,
just
yeah,
took
yeah.
off. Yeah, yeah, that's insane. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. Can you tell us a bit about what you actually do? Because for Indonesians, we actually have no clue what literally agent is. So yeah, just briefly, can you actually educate us?
I've been an agent for more than 11 years now, maybe 12 years, and we are just like, we just discover talent. The talent in this case means writers. Like writing across genres, be it fiction, non-fiction, poetry. I'm open to academic writers also. I'm open to graphic novelists, illustrators, and we help them realize the potential of their works and then pitch it to the right publishers. um, when I started out, there were we didn't have too many options available in terms of publishers, because there were just three or four publishers. There was Penguin, there was HarperCollins, Rupa, which is an independent publisher, like more than 80 years old. but we did not have the India offices of Hachette, Bloomsbury. Some of the India offices served as distributors, and distribution offices for the UK, US books. For instance, Patrick Friend's biography of V.S. Naipaul, or some other big book published by Pickard or UK, the India office used to just distribute it, or just help the author with the promotions, and like when they were in they were in India, but now they have their own list and it's growing. So Pickard and Pan, they collectively they publish around 50 books. Similarly, Simon & Schuster used to be an India office for the UK offices for a long time, and now they have a local list. They are growing their list, so it makes the whole proposition attractive for authors and agents if there are options to choose from. If there are more publishers involved, then the stakes can go higher. Not that high too in terms of money, but still. So I mean, an agent is like a literary manager, So I'm like the first reader, editor. I'm also like, we are also counseling authors. We also help them with the contracts. And I think the job of a true, genuine literary agent starts after the book is sold to a publisher, and doesn't end there, because that is where, the real work begins. I mean, so many times authors, especially, authors of literary fiction and non-fiction, they start having disagreements with the editors, their publishers, their publicists, the cover designers. So that is where, the agent has to step in and, kind of reach some sort of a middle ground or help authors,
Right.
and get the whole space. These days, agents have to be very actively involved in promotions, pitching their authors to literary festivals. They are expected to sell OTT rights, like books to film rights. They're expected to, push publishers to, bring out audiobooks in case they are producing it themselves. Like Penguin and HarperCollins, they do their own audiobooks now, or sell rights to, production house, audio production houses like Audible and Storytel. So lots of things need to be done.
Right. And you mentioned earlier that you just started reading.
Oh, and not to forget
Okay.
international rights. There's a lot of pressure on me to
Right.
sell UK US rights, and I've been doing that. So I traveled to Frankfurt last year. I'll be going to Frankfurt again this year. Before that, I had planned to make a trip to London and have one-on-one meetings with editors. So
right. And then earlier you mentioned that you just started reading. Like this is your time to read manuscript. How does it work? Like, can you basically divide the year into like from January to March, you accept submission, and then after that
no, we don't have any reading period. No, nothing like that. We don't work like poetry presses or literary magazines or some independent publishing houses in the UK. If we get to know of a big manuscript or a promising writer, directly or via an existing author or some contact, we just go after the author. Because because there are other agents in India, and all of them have access to the same publishers. So you have to you have to move fast. So we are always open. Even when I was traveling to Dhaka, Jaipur, and all these other cities and countries for the literary festivals, I was always responding to promising query letters. You have to do that.
Yeah. And we talk about this with Arunava as well. There are so many authors in India, and it's very hard to basically market them all. But then at the same time, it's very small now. It's a huge market to tap in, but it's very small now. That's at least us in Indonesia get to know. How do you choose who do you want to talk to, or which manuscript you want to read?
In terms of so we are genre agnostic. I mean, I represent all kinds of writings, and I will never say no to a book if it's a great book. Even if I feel that I might have problems pitching it to multinational publishing houses or commissioning editors who have a mandate to acquire books that need to have a print run of 5,000 copies or even more. I just take that risk, and I've done some of the some books on some of the strangest and oddest subjects, and some of these books have gone on to win like national level prizes. So I never say no to a very good book. I may tell the author that please give me some time, to start with the pitching process, because I'm already, like overwhelmed with, pitches and submission. I think it's very unprofessional for an agent, howsoever well known he or she is, to like bombard, or publisher with submissions. It's just very unprofessional. So we are open to all kinds of genres, and even if I don't understand a particular subject, or if it's going to be difficult for me to like personally find the merits or demerits in a proposal, I have a team of experts who are looking at stuff.
So you actually, behind you, there's actually a team who.
Oh yeah. I have 5 full-time editors on my team. They're full-time. Yeah. So they're helping with the reading. Many of them are in touch with authors directly.
Right.
So if we find potential in a book, but if the manuscript requires work, then the editor agent gets in touch with the author. The editor gets in touch with the author directly. They work on several drafts, and then the finished manuscript comes to me. Otherwise, it's impossible for one person to handle such a big agency.
Right. Yeah. But then, so in general, do you get submission every day then?
Yeah. So, in the first 6 or 7 years of agenting, I used to rely a lot on the slush pile. But these days I get submissions via referrals, so existing authors referring me to, some promising writers, or, their friends who are writing, or, if I go to a festival, I run into someone who's writing a book, or who knows like 3 or 4 people who are writing books. But we are always looking at the slush pile, always.
Wow. Yeah.
So a lot of queries by well-known names, or people who know me via their other associations. Sometimes they also write via, they also communicate on email. So
right. Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of ways to reach you basically, and people just have to be brave to introduce themselves to you. Or
and let's not forget WhatsApp. So I get WhatsApp queries all the time. That I got your number from so and so, and I'm writing and they'll send me long WhatsApp. They will not like copy paste the proposal on the WhatsApp. So, and then if it's a promising writer, promising name, then I'll say yes to them. I'll even say yes to a call or a meeting.
Yeah. Wow. So basically, I don't know.
This morning, you were asking about reading. This morning, I was having a chat with my main editor, and I was telling him, listen, I just got to know about a Pakistani writer who sold her debut novel to Canongate directly. And she was in touch with me for the longest time. And I don't know, I mean, somehow I did not manage to read the book. In fact, I even asked her to send me a synopsis. And then I passed on the synopsis to my editor. And then there was some communication gap, maybe because it was COVID. And I just got to know that she sold her book to Canongate directly. I was telling him that we need to be more careful about promising.
But then, do you know what the book is about now that's being sold?
No, not really.
Not really.
But then I downloaded the attachment, and I can see why a UK publisher has snapped it up, because it's very good writing, very unusual writing.
Right, I see. Okay. So that's a whole story. That's totally new to me, at least. How about you, Indra? And we're wondering, like, how did you start this career? Like, did you always have you worked as a publisher before, and then you changed?
I started out as an agent, and I'm still an agent. So
wow. See,
I started writing after school. I kind of lost interest in like formal education. I started writing, and at the time I did not find much support for writers. We didn't have too many agencies. There was Jakarta, Jayapriya Vasudevan, who's deeply invested in Indonesian writers and
exactly.
Literature. And there were like some quasi-official representatives of big UK agents like David Godwin, but there was not much support for writers. There were 2 or 3 publishers. They did not have, one did not know the hierarchy of the editors in the publishing houses. You had to send hard copies of your manuscripts to the addresses mentioned on their websites, and then there was no interaction thereafter. So I mean, for 4 or 5, so I was unemployed for 4 or 5 years, maybe more than that. 5 years after college, 3 years of college, and I think in 2009 I got in touch with some players in publishing, some, editors, agents. I interned for one agency. Then I was introduced to Namita Gupta, who's a very major writer and literary figure, like award-winning writer, founder of the Jaipur Literature Festival. And one thing led to the other, and I just felt that maybe I should start something on my own. Because I didn't find much excitement in, evaluating manuscripts for other agents. Yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot of things on the job. I've learned from mistakes. I've learned from being duped and being betrayed by publishers. I mean, I remember working with the publisher in the initial years without advance payments, because they told me that they don't have a policy of paying advance royalty. Then I got to know that this American writer of Indian origin got a 3 lakh advance from them, the same year. So you learn, and you just have to keep at it. You have to keep at it, because this is not a business which can grow with like surplus funds. You cannot just get someone to invest in the business and expect editors to start taking your manuscripts seriously, or gain a lot of respect for you. I mean, this is a reputational business, and your work has to speak. Your manuscripts have to speak.
Yeah, that's true. So if you didn't become a literary agent, what do you think? What would you have become?
I mean, I wanted to write, but now the mind space for writing, and I don't think it's possible for 95% of the people, I think, to become full-time writers. Even so many famous Indian writers in the UK, US, they are teaching, they are teaching creative writing, or they're doing other things. I had the option to join the family business, but I think I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I would love to continue with my journalism. So in 2016, I started writing, pieces on publishing for Scroll. Not just Scroll. I mean, I've written for the Bookseller, and some of my articles have been translated into European languages. And I put together that Scroll series during COVID, but there's no money in it. I would have loved to cover publishing, but I don't think anyone knows how to write about publishing in South Asia. They don't know. I mean, there is a opening there's one para, which is the opening of the article, and then according to like 4-5 people from publishing, and that's how the article ends. So much in publishing that has not been covered comprehensively. I would have loved to be like a publishing journalist, focusing on publishing, and you have access to all the people, but I just don't have the time and the mind space, and it doesn't pay me anything.
Right. You're so candid with us. This is so cool. Yeah. So as you said, you have a team behind you. But then in general, how do you choose other than being referred from publishers, from author?
So all the quality of the writing,
so it's very subjective then.
Yeah, that's subjective. Everything about literature is subjective, and especially when it comes to works of fiction, it is subjective. But one of the reasons that I have been able to grow this agency and have authors across genres is because I'm also open to taking feedback from my editor. I'm not a reader of science fiction. I'm not a reader of fantasy. It's very difficult for me to gauge the quality of a work that has been translated from a language that I don't read. It has to read well in English. I mean, that's the first and foremost criteria. But I listen to my editors, and most of my editors are they're ex-publishing professionals. Have commissioned books in publishing houses, so they also have an understanding of the market.
Right.
Like I only read in and speak in English, so I rely a lot on my friends who are bilingual for recommendations of good literature in Hindi, Tamil, all the Indian languages. I get so much feedback from them, and I trust them. Like a Kalyan Raman telling me that take this book seriously. So he introduced me to Priyambada and Suchitra Ramachandran, who are doing very well, with their translations of Jaya Mohan, who's a very major writer writing in Tamil. So you have to trust them. Tanuj
Right.
Solanki, who is bilingual, he's very conversant with Hindi. He asked me to get in touch with, Chandan Pandey, who published legal fiction with HarperCollins, and now he's publishing two other books, including a collection of short stories. So yeah, I mean, you have to rely on people, for
Right.
and obviously, I mean, I take the final decision
Right.
on
Yeah.
when to pitch, how to pitch, whom to pitch it to,
Mm.
because it's important for an agent to know who's going to be most receptive to a submission, because publishers like HarperCollins, Penguin, they have uh, 3 or 4 publishers, editors who are commissioning in the same genre. Like at
Mm.
HarperCollins, there are multiple editors who may be looking at literary fiction. In Penguin, there are multiple editors who may be looking at, commercial fiction. But who do you pitch it to? I mean, and that understanding is hard won. You have to be in constant touch with the editors.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, a sort of a greenhorn or an amateur editor may end up submitting a work of fiction to someone uh, who is not doing fiction, or who has stopped acquiring fiction, or who has acquired too many titles for fiction titles, and he has to acquire other genres. And then that person will then forward it to some other editor. So this is not how it works. You just have to, and all that depends on your relationship with publishing houses, editors. I have a very good working relationship with uh, the CEOs of companies. I have with also salespeople. So I get an understanding of what kind of books are selling.
Right.
How
Yeah.
is literary fiction doing?
Yeah.
How is non-fiction doing? So and sometimes the non-editorial professionals in a publishing house, they ask me for a certain kind of book. That maybe you should pitch
Right.
something like this to me. Sometimes editors come to me with ideas, and then they ask me to find the right author for the book. Maybe
Yeah.
even be it a sports biography, be it a non-fiction, be it a self-help, and then I do that, and then they sign up the author.
So as much as there's a lot of research to which means that you actually talk to a lot of professionals
All the time, yeah.
all the time.
Much that.
But then on the other side, how much is your gut telling you that it's actually a good manuscript?
Oh yeah, I rely on God quite a bit. It's and I think it's just, I mean, it's how you instinctively react to a work of fiction, non-fiction. Like Akitoshi, when Girl in White Cotton, the Indian
Right.
title of Burnt Sugar,
Yeah.
when that book came to me, we just signed it up in a day.
Mm-hmm.
Again, nothing extraordinary about the story, but I mean the way it was written, line by line, it was a very special book. And then Harper picked it up in a day's time. I think, and also with fiction, also we see credentials. I mean, if whether or not, MFAs don't I'm not very enamored of people who have MFA degrees, but if you've won creative writing prizes, if you've been published in literary magazine journals, then that does make a difference.
Right. Yeah.
And can you share with us a story in which that you are looking backward, that you are happy that you get this manuscript, and then when it's published, you are really happy that the world finally see that book in a full form. Some manuscript that makes you, oh, it's so fortunate that the manuscript comes to me, and when it gets published, you feel that, oh, finally the world can see this manuscript published. Is there a book that creates that?
It happens all the time. It happened with this very special, book by a late Bangladeshi writer, Numair Chaudhry. He died before the book was published, but I was very relieved and ecstatic when the book got published. So there are many instances, but sometimes, one is disappointed if the book, if the readers and if the reviewers are not as enthusiastic as the agent is. And sometimes, there are so many surprises, that a book that you did not take to in a very big way ends up becoming a big book, But I mean, all authors represented by me, they're equal for me.
But do you think you have a formula now? That this.
I mean, there is no, I don't have a formula.
Right. Yeah.
But I just believe in like long-term association. So I have worked with authors who are now on the 10th book or the 11th book. And sometimes, one has to end the associations also.
Right, right.
And in India, that is a big risk for agents because publishers are commissioning directly. So nothing stops the author to from going to a publisher directly.
Okay. So it doesn't, it's not
Yeah.
like in the UK and the US that you actually have to bring in an agent.
No, but I mean, I told you about
Right, the Canon Gate.
when sold a book to Canon Gate direct.
yeah,
I mean, he may not have been able to find an agent. I would have taken her on had I read the book, but I mean, I lost the opportunity.
Right.
Yeah. In India, especially if a book becomes like very big commercially or even critically. So if it becomes big commercially, then the author will go to the publisher directly. They may not even go with another agent because if it's a commercial seller, then what value can an agent add?
Yeah.
But if the book becomes big critically, like if it wins a major prize and the author and the translator, in case it's a translation, they may find the publisher agent in the UK, agent in the US, or they may find an Indian agent. So yeah, I mean, a lot of commissioning happening directly.
Yeah.
Lot of commissioning happening. Even though now agents are responsible for like 50 to 60% of the books that are getting published
Was
by
that
mainstream publishers.
was that what happened with Avni Doshi? Because the title of the book changed. Is that because of the
Avni was she was represented by me. She still is represented by me in South Asia, and she found an agent for the international markets like 2-3 months or maybe 4 months after the book was acquired by HarperCollins India, and then the agent managed to sell the rights to Hamish Hamilton in the UK. So that's why the book there's this time difference in the publication of the two editions.
Right.
In fact, the Hamish Hamilton editor even changed the ending of the book, and I think there was some level of copy editing that had happened for the UK and international editions. It's a slightly different. Yeah.
How
Not vastly.
okay.
So slightly.
How about with the Tome of Sand? Is there a difference?
No. Tome of Sand is a product of UK, Deborah Smith Tilted Access Press. It was commissioned by Penguin India. It was like signed up by Penguin India before Tilted Access Press, because Tilted Access Press was waiting for the announcement of the Penn grant. Daisy won the Penn grant, and after the Penn grant, after the Penn Award announcement, there was we signed up with Tilted Access, and then all the editing and everything was done by Deborah Smith. With Daisy, and also Gitanji was deeply involved in the editorial process because she's very good with English also.
Right.
And then Penguin just published the UK edition, but there was no editing done by Penguin India, even though they had a different cover. The cover was designed by Daisy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So
all very.
And I got a copy of the US edition. The US edition was sold to the US rights were sold to HarperCollins like 2 days before the announcement of the prize.
Right.
So Tilted Access, they have world rights. They licensed North America rights to HarperCollins when this is the edition.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So with all this years of experience, with all this accolades that your authors have, do you think you're a good agent? What do you think is a good agent? And is there actually like rivalries in agency, especially in India, for example?
I used to feel it's very difficult to. I mean, I think some authors like to work with agents who don't have too many authors on their list because they feel otherwise they are not going to get much attention. In fact, that is one of the biggest criticisms of my agency, that he has so many authors. How is he going to give you attention? How is he going to like take your calls, meet you? But that's not the case. I find time and I have a team. But there are authors who don't want to work with very large agencies. And my agency is very large within the context of South Asia, and maybe globally too, because of the number of authors I have. And there are authors who want agents who are like very editorially driven, like very hands-on. Then there are authors who want to work with agents who specialize in, promoting their books, like they will be actively involved in the marketing of the book, pitching the book to festivals, even doing some underhand shady things like, like telling them how to buy shelf space in big retail stores. They'll give them some information about Amazon marketing systems and
Right.
how the book can become like a bestseller, even though I don't know how that happens. So everyone has their own requirement. In terms of rivalries, initially I used to feel insecure about rival agents, especially agents in the UK, US, because they most of them, they wait for like an author to become big, locally, and then they just sign them up. But now, I think there's enough space for more agencies to set up shop in India. So I think, in fact, I hope that, I hope that I hope that there are agencies in, like Bangladesh and Sri Lanka and Pakistan. But I don't think I don't feel that rivalry anymore. But I'm sure there is rivalry. Oh, he's muted it.
Oh yeah. Is there a book or a manuscript that you feel like you want to publish, but you haven't found the author yet? Like you want to publish a book about, I don't know, cooking, but then you haven't found the author to do that yet, or who does that?
So obviously, I can't think of any works of fiction, like that I want to represent, and I haven't found the author yet, because I would like to read the whole manuscript. And I'm not actively commissioning or actively going to publisher with ideas. But what I do is that I often get approached by writers of non-fiction, very, very good names. Some of them have great writing skills also, but they are very confused about what to write. So that's the time, when I step in and they share ideas with me, and then we shortlist ideas, and then I tell them, you work on this book first, because you also have to see their careers. The first book cannot be like a very strange book or something that will not find any favor amongst readers. So we do, I do give authors a lot of ideas.
Are you okay with if an author consult with you, but then they ended up going forward with another agent, for example?
I hate it, but it happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
And some of them even lie to you. They will come. They said that it has not been shown to anyone, and then once you make them an offer, then they're like, oh, but I forgot to tell you that I was introduced to someone at this friend of mine, and then suddenly the publisher they were introduced to that. Now, I don't face that issue anymore.
Right.
Yeah, they pretend, they feign, like memory loss, and we forgot about it. But then if an author really wants to work with an agent, then they will involve the agent even if a publisher makes an offer. So it had happened to me in so many cases. There's a very major public figure in the media space, very, very famous, and he was introduced to me by a common friend who had done a book with me. And then I went to his office and he told me, look, I have already got an offer from Juggernaut and I'm sitting on it. And what value can you add, this and that? And we just hit it off. And then we put together a proposal. And then I pitched the proposal to other publishing houses. And most of them ended up making better offers. And he ended up publishing with another publishing house. So,
right.
Authors have to decide for themselves, whether or not they want to work with an agent,
Right. Yeah. And as we settled in the very beginning, it's all a subjective business.
Yeah, and I find it to be deeply offensive when people just message me and say that, okay, what is your job? What do you do? We don't do that when we go to, like a doctor.
That's true.
Tell me what are you going to do?
That's true.
Approaching me, then at least have the etiquette, basic etiquette to agents. Now you can't say that it's a new concept in India. No.
Yeah. So you're actually looking for authors from other countries as well in South Asia? And
In fact, I represent close to 50 authors from Pakistan. I represent a lot of writers from Bangladesh, a lot of writers from Sri Lanka. I mean, I've worked with Shehan Karunatilak on 2 books.
Right.
The short story collection, and his forthcoming novel, I'm handling the South Asia rights. I worked on his children's book also, which was published like 3-4 years ago, like 1 year before the pandemic. I'm always open to, like I'm even writers from Nepal.
So is there a book that you work with and you really like it, and you basically now you just casually recommending it to everyone all the time? Do you have that kind of book? Is there one book that represents that?
You mean to say a book that I've signed on, and
Yeah, and then it becomes your personal favorite, and
Hmm.
then you just keep recommending it to people who ask you for book recommendations.
before it is published, like publishers?
No. After it was published.
Oh, I mean, so many of them. It's been
So
very
many.
difficult for me to,
Right.
shortlist 4 or 5
Right.
books.
Yeah, right.
My heart lies in literary writings. The more experimental, the merrier. I mean, I kind of like lean towards literary fiction, literary non-fiction, fiction, or genres, or books that are kind of unclassifiable.
Unclassifiable. Yeah.
As in, I mean, they can be a hybrid of poetry and prose. I mean, I just published Sasha Arora Akhtar's translation of Hijab Imtiaz's poetry, and that is, I mean, it's such an unusually done book. I mean, I can understand what the genre is. So I really like books that cannot be defined, that cannot be, classified.
Right. What about poetry then? Like, I don't know, for me personally, there's a different level of understanding needed when you read poetry. Do you feel that way, or do you treat this all manuscript?
I do read poetry, and I do represent, poetry, not just your big names, but also like new poets.
Right.
But I mean, I do struggle with like very complicated, very difficult poetry. But I do poetry in translation too. We've done Kuvar Narayan's translations by his son. We've done Rahul Soni's translation of Shrikant Verma's Magad will be out in May. We are doing Gurnath Singh's translation by Trisha Gupta. We do a lot of translations.
Right.
And even I've just signed up Yusra Amjad, who's a very young poet from Pakistan, and she's really good. I mean, she has crossover appeal. So I think she will appeal to readers of literary poetry as well as readers of Rupi Kaur, because I really like her work.
Right. But then as an agent, when you were given a poetry manuscript, you treat it the same way like other manuscript?
I mean, I don't think I can do more than 1 or 2 poetry collections in a year. Because poetry, in fact, even short stories are as hard to sell as poetry. Maybe a little less harder, but yeah. So I just tell myself that you are going to do this only if it is extraordinary.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, it's fascinating.
I'm not the publisher.
Right.
Do I have the ability or capacity to self-publish a book if all the publishers say no? None of the publishers are interested in poetry. They will not even look at poetry unless it's like a translation of a, like Faiz or Rumi or or unless it's a very well-known poet, contemporary poet like Arundhati Subramaniam, Jerry Pinto, or Jeet. I mean, what will I do with a great poetry book if there are no takers for the book?
Yeah. It's fascinating that the problem is systematic. Like it's
I'm talking about like mainstream publishers. I mean, thankfully there is a very good ecosystem of independent poetry publishing in India. Publishers like Red River Press, publishers like Coppercoin, this paper wall in Bombay, and most of these poetry presses are run by poets themselves, so they have a fair understanding and sensibility for poetry.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's fascinating because at the bookstore we are also having a really tough time to sell poetry books.
even Insta poets, I mean, so many publishers experimented with Insta poets, I mean, as big as Rupi Kaur in terms of following but some of them have like 100,000 followers on Insta, 75, maybe 2 lakh followers, but their books don't sell because their viewers, or sorry, their readers, they don't want to read their poetry
Full work.
in a book.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
in a
yeah,
book.
yeah.
They want to see them recite their poetry. They want to see them at, poetry events, poetry slams, but they don't want to read the book.
Right. Oh, that's so true. Yeah. And
I
then you
don't know
said,
if I don't know. So right now, I don't know if any publisher is actively looking for contemporary poetry. Even if, especially if it's a debut poetry. I just know one major publishing house in India who has a slot, who has one slot for a manuscript. So I've already told them that they can only acquire one poetry collection. I'm talking
per
about
year.
because no, right now I'm talking about publishers across, like India. There are no takers.
That's crazy. Only one.
Yeah.
Acquisition. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then short story is just a bit better, but it's
unless it's a very famous writer, or unless the short stories are have a very strong theme, or they are interconnected in some ways. It's not easy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the same thing as a bookseller. The same struggle that we as a bookseller are facing. That's fascinating. Yeah. So you've been very successful as an agent. Your authors have won so many awards. What will be your next accomplishment? What's your next goal as a literary agent?
Monetize all the hard work that I've done better with it, because I'm sitting on a lot of IP, and my authors, they are still with me. The authors who published like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe before that. So I need to monetize it. I need to sell more books in the UK, US. I think I have very good quality, manuscripts, both fiction and non-fiction. I just have to keep going to all these book fairs and stay in constant touch with, editors in the UK, US, and beyond. I need to, and sell more rights to, the like production houses.
Right.
What else can be done? I don't know.
I don't know. Like personally, what's your next goal? Like you.
I don't make goals.
You don't make goals. That's a really good way to see life. You don't make goals. Yeah.
Just go with the flow.
Yeah. That's very nice.
I never thought that Daisy will be on the book.
Yeah, exactly. How did you get to?
I did not even travel to the UK. In fact, I was stunned when I was alone. I was in my home, and I was in my home when the announcement was made, and there was a time lag. There was a time lag in the video because I had bad internet connectivity. So Arunava and I were watching the thing together. He was in his house, and he told me she's won. And by the time, and when I was watching the video, she hadn't won by then because. So it's very unexpected. Even I don't represent Shehan's Booker-winning book, but it was so unexpected. It's so. I don't make plans.
You actually represent Sehan.
No. I'm saying. I know him very well, and I've worked with other books, and I represent him.
Right.
I've seen because we are friends. I've seen his journey. It's very unexpected.
Yeah.
You never know. It depends on a combination of factors.
Right.
The jury, their choices, the competition.
Okay.
So if you see the two juries for the international booker and the main booker. International booker jury had two very well-known, well-regarded, award-winning translators. So they have immediately seen the kind of the merit in Daisy's translation, how difficult it is to translate a book like Tomb of Sand.
Right.
The chair of jury, Frank Wine, won the Dublin Prize 1 week before the announcement of the International Booker last year. So in Dublin is also a very major prize. And if you see the Booker Prize, so many, at least 2 or 3 people on the jury, they veer towards satire, experimental writing, newness. I mean, one of the jury members has won the Goldsmith Prize, which is given for experimental writing.
Right.
You get a fair understanding of the kind of book they are going to, be rooting for.
Right. And then because you're so in touch with not just the manuscript and then the people, you learn about this.
Yeah.
That's how long have you known Daisy Rockwell?
So Daisy was introduced to me by the writer and journalist Vivek Menzies in 2018. And so in fact, she met me in 2018, and then she left her agent in the US, and then she came to me, and she's been with me ever since then. So we've worked on, she's won prizes for other books also represented by me. She won the Aldo and Jean, there's the MLA prize for translation, which is a very major prize in the US. That was for the Krishna Sopti translation.
Right.
Yeah, so we've done like 5 or 6 books together. I've sold the rights to 2 of our old translations, Tamas and Women's Courtyard to Penguin Classics US. Lots of stuff happening. So yeah, we've been for 5 or 6 years. Yeah, and she's happy, and so we are very close friends. So.
When is the Penguin Classics books gonna be published?
We are still, we are still doing that. We are still at the contract stage, but they will not require any editing. So maybe second half of 24.
Okay. That's because after the Tomb of San Win, people are craving more from
these are old works, but she is also working on new projects, very exciting projects.
Yeah.
3 more Krishna Sopti books. Then she's working on a short story collection and a poetry manuscript by the Urdu writer Azra Abbas, and she's working on some other books too. So lots of stuff.
Right. Fascinating. This is also it sounds like you're just name dropping people's name, like successful people's name, but it's what you do. It's what you do.
I'm how is that name dropping? I don't understand.
No, it's just fascinating to me that how you work, like that's actually how you work, like through references, and then you basically just trust a lot of people. Yeah, that's amazing. When you read these manuscripts, can you actually tell people what it's about, or is it always in discretion?
No, for fiction, you can go and tell people what it's about, unless it's a work of non-fiction, or unless it's a very, confidential, contentious subject, and the author has signed a non-disclosure with the agent or the publisher. Yeah, we keep talking about books all the time.
Right. Yeah. So okay. So then, what was the last manuscript that you read that fascinates you? What was it about?
I'll have to check 1 sec. I'll just open. I'm sorry. This is just blanked out.
That's okay. I can imagine, like, you read so many manuscripts. Yeah, I can imagine that you will go blank when you're asked this way.
Okay, so there's a collection of short stories by a writer, Hindi writer, Anil Kumar. It's and the translator is a new translator, Vaibhav Sharma. So that is something that excites me. And what else?
What is it about?
There's a new novel. It's about courtesans in Benares. It's about sex workers in the holy town of Benares. And then there is a work of fiction by a new novelist, first-time writer, Uttama Patel, which I've sold to Serpent's Tail. So she's writing about a dysfunctional, very rich, elite dysfunctional family in Jumeirah in Dubai. So
Dubai,
it will be very, very strong line by line.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Tanut Solanki's works also. So he's represented by me, but he's attempted crime genre, writing for the first time. So I really like that book.
Mm.
One of my all-time favorites is Deepak Krishnan, but he wrote this book called Temporary People.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about very, very magic realist, absurdist look at the plight of the Malayalis in the Gulf, the Gulf region.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's writing a new book, so I would love to read that book.
Mm. Yeah. So basically you take on South Asian authors who write, like the stories can be anywhere, like on the Gulf, in Dubai, or within South Asia. Do you think?
Yeah. Oh, also a collection of short stories by a 20-year-old Bangladeshi writer that I've placed with uh, Hachette India. His name is Shah Tarzian Afri. He's very promising, and I was quite stunned to know from him that he's just 20.
Wow, 20.
Yeah,
Wow.
he has a lot of talent, and I mean, if he
Mm.
works like hard on his writings for another 5 or 6 years, then he could end up writing a very big book.
Wow. 20 years old.
So I sell primarily within South Asia, and I like to take South Asian writings to the UK, US, and
Right.
even in countries. So I mean, for me, it is important to have some sort of a connect with the setting, the characters, but I don't have that cosmopolitan approach yet, like Jayapriya, because Jayapriya has spent so much time in Singapore and
Mhm.
other parts of Southeast Asia, that I mean, she had a very good understanding of what will work. Like, I mean, she had authors from Indonesia. I mean, even Tiffany Saw is represented by her.
Yeah.
Udit is represented by her. They just won a very major prize. I won't be able. I'll be very nervous about signing up a South Indonesian writer.
Right.
That, and but yeah, if an American writer or a British writer or even an African writer writes about an Indian character, if it's a non-fiction or if it's a story which is deeply rooted in India, set in India, then I'll happily take a look at it.
Right.
Even this Nicholas Brooks, who's done this book on Sri Lankan cricket history, he is not an Indian. He's half British, half Jamaican. But this book has such great appeal in the and internationally too.
Yeah.
So I'll be very uncomfortable about considering or signing up like a German writer,
Right.
an Indonesian writer, or a Chinese writer. I mean, even unless I mean, I'm not familiar with their markets.
Yeah. Wow. So in 2023, how many books are you going to publish?
Publishing depends on the publisher's schedule, but I represent a lot of writers, so I keep selling all the time.
Right. Yeah.
All the time. We are developing proposals. We are also working closely with ghostwriters. Sometimes, you have a very good writer. No. Sometimes you have a very good subject. And the writer does not have the time or the mind space to tell that story. Sometimes they don't even have the skill set to write the story. So, you be with ghostwriters, collaborators.
So is that your job as well, to find a ghostwriter?
No, I mean, so I just facilitate it, because if I really want a book, I have to do something to make the book happen. So, and if I work with the team of ghostwriters, so I introduce the ghostwriter to the author, and once they put together the proposal or the complete manuscript, I pitch it to publishers, and I've done that with many public figures, and it works out. I mean, yes, they have to cough up monies because I can't pay the ghostwriter. Someone else's story. So,
do you keep up with the publishing trend?
Oh yeah, all the time.
All the time. Like, what's the latest trend now?
Chat GPT, this whole anxiety over Chat GPT, but I don't think it's going to work out. I mean, the literary, writing space, I don't think it poses a danger to, creative publishers of creative fiction and non-fiction and writers too, which are the other trends. I mean, there's huge interest in translations after, the Tomb of Sans Win, and after, the JCB win for this Urdu novel. Every year the JCB prize is going to a novel in translation. So I mean, there's a lot of buzz. I mean, I hope it translates into sales. because so
Yeah.
far it has translated into sales for Tomb of Sand, not the other books.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I'm not following. I'm not sure how well the Perumal Murugan novel is doing. The one that that appeared on the Booker long list.
Yeah.
It may even be shortlisted on Tuesday.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of buzz. There's a lot of excitement. A lot of awards, a lot of grants, a lot of funds. But we need to find the readers.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
Lots of
true.
festivals.
Yeah. Because it's very interesting how some books, even though they won awards, they're not selling.
Because there will be the South Asian prizes. In fact, even like the Dublin Literary Prize will not have any impact on the readership in India.
Right. Yeah.
And Akhil Katyal is what am I saying? Akhil Sharma is I think probably the only Indian writer to have won the Dublin Prize for Family Matters, but I don't think the sales
Yeah.
after the prize was announced.
Yeah, I noticed with Nobel, the last few Nobel Prize winners.
Nobel
in Indonesia.
Abdul Razak Gunna was in India for such a long time.
Yeah.
Nobel have an impact.
Yeah.
The writer had nothing to do with South Asia.
Yeah.
In fact, even Pulitzer has some kind of an impact.
Right.
If the author is of South Asian origin, I would say it has very big impact. Siddharth Mukherjee, he won the Pulitzer for Emperor of Maladies.
Yeah.
That's in lakhs. So, but I think Booker is the award for South Asia.
Right.
No comparison.
Yeah. Do you think Perumal Murugan will win this year?
You want my honest opinion? I don't think he'll win this year. I don't think.
Why?
I mean, I think there's just too much competition. I do, and I think perhaps the jury will go for a more experimental work, a more challenging work. Even if it's not experimental, that's my feeling. It could go to one of the Fitzcarraldo books, or it could go to that big book by that Bulgarian writer. I'm just forgetting the name.
A System Blinding.
No. That's not Bulgarian.
Time Shelter.
What's the name? What's the name of the author?
Georgie.
Yeah, and also that novel which is translated by Julia Sanchez. I'm forgetting the name. It's a very slim novel.
Very slim novel.
Translated from Spanish. I just don't remember the name.
I don't remember. Okay. Do you think?
I hope he is on the shortlist on Tuesday.
Right.
I hope he goes all the way. It's better for us.
Yeah, it's better for all Asia, I guess.
Yeah. So I mean, agents are also opportunistic. So one day after the day he was longlisted, I started, like sending reminders to UK US publishers who have not gotten back to me about a Tamil writer. So
right.
Yeah. Now another round of reminders will go out when he's shortlisted, if he's shortlisted. So,
yeah. Do you think it's weird that it's taken so long for him to be recognized? It's
recognition. This is but how
he's
many?
Very famous in India, right? He's very famous.
No. He's been published globally. He's been shortlisted. I think Kalyan Raman's translation of Punachi was on the NBA long list, if I'm not mistaken.
Punachi,
And I think Perumal has been shortlisted for another major prize in the US.
Okay.
In the UK, no. International Booker, no. But he's very well known in the UK, US market. So I met his publisher at Frankfurt, and he told me that his books are not moving. But now I think it's long listing must have made a difference.
Yeah.
But Perumal is well known. I mean, he must have been translated into European language also. He's not like Gitanjali Sri. I mean, Gitanjali was a non-entity in the UK.
Right. Yeah.
Although she was well known in France and some other European countries where her earlier works had been translated. But Perumal is known also because of the sea, which was global news.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So our hour is up. Do you have any I don't know, like wish for what you want to see in the publishing world in 2023, the remainder of 2023? What are you looking forward to when you go to?
I just want the processes to be streamlined. And sorry, it's like a rant. I want publishers to, hire like very good editors. I want them to hire marketing people who know how to, who realize, who understand that they're in the business of marketing books, and they're dealing with creative people. I just want like the publishing houses to hire like more skilled people. If not editors, then at least people in the marketing and other departments. I would love for homegrown writers to sell well without like any Booker long listing or
right.
I just want the local ecosystem to be so strong that we don't need to rely on the validation of the West, because those are hard to come by. There's too much competition.
And the marketing people is very important, because a lot of marketing people don't know how to market books. That's what I found.
They don't even read books. Some of them don't read books. They have a marketing plan, they have a template, and they just change the name of the author and send that template to so it becomes very stressful for people like me, because my authors are well aware that I can market the books on my own, but that's not my job.
That's a good wish to have in 2023. Hopefully publishers listen to you more.
They do.
Okay, thank you so much for talking with me this afternoon. We hope that this conversation that will be published for public can what did you say in the beginning? Demystify the the complication of what literary agent does. But yeah, thank you so much for very valuable information that you shared for the last hour. Hopefully your wishes will come true this year. Good luck on the manuscript and reading it, and good luck at London and Frankfurt.
Hope to see you sometime soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully. Okay, thank you so much, Kan.
Thank you.
Very lovely to talk to you.
I'm very, very grateful to you.